Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at some very fun battles in the HISUI Cup featuring the triple Wild Charge theme team. This team features HISUI and Electrode on the lead, Luxray as the save switch, and Shadow Magnezone as the closer. This is definitely not a team I recommend for climbing, but I was able to have some incredibly fun sets with it. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out the triple Wild Charge theme team in action in the HISUI Cup. Hopping into the first match, picking up a fantastic lead, HISUI and Electrode into Togekiss, and the Togekiss is staying in, meaning they're probably weak to Electric somewhere in the back. I'm going to farm up to the back-to-back Wild Charges. HISUI and Electrode charges incredibly quickly. First Wild Charge gets the shield. Second Wild Charge going on to Togekiss. We get both shields and I save switch into the Luxray. Since they're pretty weak to Electric, I am going to start shielding. So I do shield up the Ancient Power, and then I'm going to overfarm quite a bit in this matchup. I farm up to the back-to-back Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs is going to be enough to take out the Togekiss. We'll have to see what they have in the back. It's an Empoleon, but they won't have it for much longer. Wild Charge takes down the Empoleon, and it's Toxicroak in the back. Shadow Magnezone taking massive damage, able to reach the Wild Charge, and that will be game over. Wild Charge taking down the Toxicroak, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a pretty tough lead, HISUI and Electrode into Shadow Drapion. I save switch into Luxray, and my opponent responds with Gastrodon. This is not a great matchup for Luxray, but this is exactly what I needed to happen. The goal of the Luxray save switch is to bait out Gastrodon, because that should hopefully free up Shadow Magnezone to close in the endgame. A Psychic Fangs plus a Wild Charge is nearly enough to take out the Gastrodon, and this should put it into Thundershock farm down range for my HISUI and Electrode. I'm just going to tank whatever they throw here. They are going to be able to reach the double body slam, but that is totally fine. HISUI and Electrode is the only Pokemon on the team that has even the slightest bit of bulk. So I farm down, I leave with the Wild Charge, and now I'm going to use it to get me some shield advantage. Wild Charge gets shield advantage, and in comes the Shadow Magnezone. Shadow Magnezone with a shield advantage is incredibly deadly. I'm going to overfarm quite a bit, and then go for the Mirror Shot bait, hoping to get the shield. Mirror Shot does get the shield from Drapion. Things looking very good for Magnezone to close out this match. They go for another crunch. I am going to overfarm quite a bit here. I go for the Wild Charge, and they catch it on a Drifblim, so they were weak in the back. Even undercharged, that's still able to KO. We reach the Mirror Shot, and that will be game over as Mirror Shot takes down the Drapion, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading HISUI and Electrode into Empoleon, a very nice lead. Opponent save switches into Frostlass, and I immediately respond with Shadow Magnezone. Shadow Magnezone is quite frail, so I do have to respect whatever Frostlass is throwing, but either a Mirror Shot or a Wild Charge will do massive damage here. It isn't quite Mirror Shot range, so I go for the Wild Charge, and they let it through, and I'm able to take them out. Back in comes Empoleon. I'm debuffed, I'm going for the Mirror Shot. Mirror Shot gets the shield. Can we make it to the Wild Charge? We cannot. We fall agonizingly short. I'm going to bring in Luxray because at this point, I think that it's Drifblim in the back. So I'm just going to sack the Luxray and close out the match with the HISUI and Electrode. So I bring in the Electrode, and we're just going to keep overloading with energy here because if it's the Drifblim, 3 Wild Charges will finish out this game, and it is the Drifblim in the back. I accidentally throw an alignment, meaning I'm going to have to throw this second Wild Charge right away, but HISUI and Electrode does win CMP over Drifblim. Wild Charge taking down the Drifblim and bring back in that Empoleon. HISUI and Electrode not done yet, taking down the Empoleon, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, picking up a pretty tough lead, HISUI and Electrode into Frostlass. I save switch into Luxray. The Frostlass is going to stay in and fire off an Avalanche to force me to commit a shield. Luxray is extremely glassy, so I have to shield it. And then they're going to save switch into a Shadow Gallade. I'm going to bait with the Psychic Fangs, hoping to get a shield, which I do. And then go for CMP, but they're running an attack-weighted Shadow Gallade, and I lose CMP. That is quite unfortunate, as I lose an entire Wild Charge. I'm going to bring in the HISUI Electrode and fire off another Wild Charge. This will be taking down the Gallade. Back in comes the Frostlass, and I bring in Magnezone. Unfortunately, this is not quite Mirror Shot range, so I'm going to shield up and then try and overfarm as much as I can, but in the back is Lucario, and things are not looking good. I bait with the Mirror Shot, go for the Wild Charge, but for the second time this match, I end up losing CMP on a Wild Charge, and that will be game over. HISUI and Electrode will be able to take out the Lucario, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to reach a second Wild Charge, as I'm going to be taking super effective damage from the Frostlass with my debuff defense. So I overfarm as much as I can, but as you see, I fall just short, and I lose a heartbreaking match. Hopping into the next match, picking up a very nice lead, HISUI and Electrode into another Empoleon. They save switch into Frostlass, and I will immediately respond with the Shadow Magnezone. They're overfarming quite a bit, so I'm going straight for the Wild Charge. Wild Charge does get the shield. That is quite unfortunate, as now my defense is 2 stages debuffed. I will shield up the Avalanche, but they're at a second, meaning that I'm going to have to double shield here if I want to maintain alignment. That is quite unfortunate. The nice thing is that I can overfarm, and this will be Mirror Shot range, so I can go for the Mirror Shot. They actually commit the shield, and I'm able to win their final shield and win switch advantage. They're probably going to be bringing back in the Empoleon to get some nice farm, would be my guess. So I'm going to immediately switch into Luxray, and in the back, they have Gastrodon, so I'm very happy that I was able to bait this out. I'm going to do what I did last time, Psychic Fangs into the Wild Charge, because we know this will get them very low, and then I can just Thunder Shock down with the HISUI Electrode, Wild Charge the Empoleon, and it will be game over. It doesn't matter what they throw here. They go for a Body Slam. That is totally fine. They're going for a second Body Slam as well. That is absolutely great with me. We farm down, leave with the Wild Charge, and this will be a very sad Empoleon taken down by the Wild Charge, and that is a good game. Hopping to the next match, picking up a very nice lead, HISUI and Electrode into Gastrodon. HISUI and Electrode does win this matchup in all even shield scenarios, going straight Energy Ball. So I fire off the Energy Ball, and they will of course commit the shield, as that would easily be taking down the Gastrodon. These neutral Mud Slaps add up quite a bit, so I do need to shield up the Body Slams. And then I'm just going to keep firing off Energy Ball after Energy Ball. Energy Ball number 2 gets the shield, and they are willing to get rid of both shields in this first matchup. The thing I have to watch for is a potential catch. So I'm just going to farm up, watch for the catch. They go for it, I'm able to bank my energy, and I bring in the Shadow Magnezone. So I do have that Energy Ball for later in the match, so I can potentially snipe if need be. They go for the Grass Knot onto the Magnezone. I'm going to farm up, and I'm very close to the back-to-back Wild Charges here. I fire off the Wild Charge, massive damage, and I fire off the Mirror Shot on what should be a CMP tie. Mirror Shot, just not enough to KO. That is quite unfortunate, and they're able to take down my Magnezone. I'm going to get an energy lead on Luxray, and I have to watch and see if they bring in the Gastrodon so I can try and snipe it. In comes the Gastrodon, and I'm able to snipe with the Energy Ball. Let's go. That will be taking them out, but in the back is Frostlass, and this is not good. I'm hoping that with the Spark Chip damage, this Wild Charge is going to be enough to KO. Wild Charge, not enough to KO, and we lose a heartbreakingly close match. Hopping into the next match, leading HISUI and Electrode into another Empoleon. Frostlass save switch? You absolutely bet there's a Frostlass save switch. Empoleon and Frostlass is an extremely common pairing, and that's a pairing that Shadow Magnezone absolutely loves to see. This time I decided to play it a little differently. I went straight for the Mirror Shot, which is not going to be enough to KO, and I'm forced to fire off another Mirror Shot because I was not going to be able to farm down. I go for it. They shield, and I'm actually going to let this go. The reason being, if it's Drifblim in the back, then I still have a pretty decent shot because I have triple electric. So I farm down with HISUI and Electrode, but it's actually not Drifblim in the back, it is Drapion. So I'm going to be going straight for the Wild Charge here. Wild Charge, able to connect, does massive damage, and at this point, Luxray can win me this game. So I'm just going to let it go. And now I can spark down with the Lux Ray. And there's just nothing this Empoleon can do at this point. I shield up. They go for the Aqua Tail. I just keep farming. Back in comes the Empoleon. But we are going to be able to reach the back-to-back wild charges. First one takes down the Empoleon. And that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading HISUI and Electrode into the mirror. This is definitely a bit of an awkward mirror match, just because both charge moves are going to be resisted. So my plan is to stay in here, farm up a ton of energy, and then bank it for later, because hopefully it's going to be more useful later on in the match. So I bank double wild charge, bring in Luxray, and they're going to be firing off a wild charge. Even when resisted, that still does a ton of damage, and then in comes Straight Beyond. I'm going to go for this Psychic Fangs bait as they reach the Aqua Tail. I'm hoping to get the shield, and I do. That's massive. Thanks to that defense drop, I'm hoping that it will be in a range where a wild charge plus Thundershock damage will be enough to KO. So I'm going to wait my clock, bring in the HISUI and Electrode, and go straight for the wild charge. This energy is a lot more useful versus the Drapion. That does massive damage. They're able to reach a last second Aqua Tail, but this is resisted, so I should be able to tank it and farm down. They bring in the Electrode. I'm again going to bank the energy and bring in Shadow Magnezone. This is still not the most comfortable matchup ever, but I'm just going to spam Mirror Shots, hoping for the attack drop. Mirror Shot lands, and we do get the attack drop, which is fantastic. Wild Charge would hurt. I shield it up, and I'm going to fire off more Mirror Shots. Their defense is now debuffed, so these will be doing even more damage than before, and we get a second attack drop as well. Let's go, that's huge. I shield up, I overfarm, but I lost count. That is not great. They're able to hit me with a wild charge. In the back, they have Frostlass, but things are still looking pretty good for me here. I'm gonna fire off the Mirror Shot, bank a wild charge, and bring back in HISUI and Electrode because I have so much energy stored. Wild charge takes down the Frostlass. We reach a second one as well, and we are in the driver's seat for this match. That lands, we Thundershock down, and that is a good game. Hopping into the final match, leading HISUI and Electrode into Frostlass. Not a great lead. I'm going to immediately save switch into Luxray, and we bait out Gastrodon. Again, not a great spot for the Luxray to be in, but if I can land a Psychic Fangs and a Wild Charge, that should put it into farm down range for HISUI and Electrode. So I go straight for the Wild Charge, and it's able to connect, and that puts it into perfect farm down range for HISUI and Electrode. I'm going to be fully waiting my timer here, and then bring in the Electrode. It doesn't matter whether they go Earth Power or Body Slam here. Most are running Water Pulse currently, so they're just going to be going straight for the Body Slam because Water Pulse would be resisted. They're going to fire off a second Body Slam. That's totally fine, as I'm able to farm down and leave with a move. In comes Frostlass. I'm going straight for the Wild Charge. Wild Charge, able to land, and I bring in the Shadow Magnezone. This Frostlass is now in a range where I can potentially threaten a farm down. We'll have to see what they have in the back. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. All in all, I had an absolute blast running this team. This is not the tankiest meta ever, meaning that there's not a lot of Pokemon that want to take a Wild Charge. So having 3 Wild Charge users on a team can leave opponents very, very frustrated. I still believe this is more of a theme team than a team for climbing, but if you're looking for a team to have some fun for a few sets, then this is a really good choice. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.